Yo, what's up, my people? So, I'm about to show y'all one of my favorite mixes to date. Um, my school, Virginia State University, their gospel choir, VSUGC. Y'all usually see me playing either keys or organ with them, and luckily this day I had access to the files, so I'm about to let y'all hear what we came up with. I think I'm gonna do "Never Shall Forget." Let y'all hear this. All these full videos are on my channel, by the way. Go check them out. This is like my third time trying to record this video, so some things have changed, not intentionally, but most of the mix is still intact. So, now that y'all have heard what we are working with, I'm going to start with the drums. We're going to do a full breakdown of this entire session. We're going to start with the drums. So, the drums at this church were a little bit weird. I believe I either didn't have I didn't have either overhead mic, so all I had to work with was the hi-hat mic, which turned out to be I believe it was kind of faulty. So let me listen. I'm trying to remember. No, it's just low. But I had to kind of use this as like to bring some air into the drums, if that makes sense. So what we have here, I'm gonna start with the kick, of course. Actually, I'm gonna let y'all hear all the drums together first. So this is what I have the drums sounding like. So for the kick, let me see. Let me turn that other drum off. For the kick, in the left channel, SSL channel. Literally, kick drum preset. I got a gate on it because it was a lot of bleed. So for the snare, sorry, y'all, my MacBook lagging a little bit. Not sure what's going on. Let me see. So, snare drum, same thing with NLS. For some reason, the files came like super dull. So a lot of these files have a ton of high gain on them. So I didn't turn on the gate for this because I believe I ended up using CLA drums for the snare, which I usually don't do, but it was missing. It was missing something. I just couldn't figure out what it was. So we got NLS channel on this as well. So all the drums are going to be on number 6. And if I remember correctly, the snare is sent to snare CLA, right? So if I show y'all what's going on in here, all I have is some lows, some tops, and a little bit of compression. A little bit of compression. Literally it. Nothing crazy. Now for the toms. Actually, let me just show y'all this. Play, Chico. Golly. So the snare is sent to this room reverb. And bus 9, this is what I sent to snare CLA, which is the CLA drums for the snare. I didn't want the full signal going into CLA drums. I just wanted a taste of it. So, for the toms, this was a perfect part for us to hear him playing the toms. Let's see if I can move it down some. I done so much work on this session, it feel like it's all over the place. Let me see. Let's try to hit these times. Either that's the bleed or something is routed wrong. I don't know what that is. But you can kind of hear what the toms sound like. I don't even feel like figuring it out right now. Let me let y'all hear the last part. So, for the toms, NLS channel on all three, SSL channel on all three. So, rack tom presets, all I usually do is give it a little bit of highs, maybe a little bit of lows. And the gate, I'm pretty sure I lied. I didn't use the gate here, which is why it's bypassed. So we have, this was the rack tom, I believe. Was it? Yeah, rack tom. This might be the floor tom right here. I told y'all some stuff might have got messed up, but all in all three toms are using SSL channel for their respective presets. So whichever one of these is the floor tom, which I believe is this one now, since it's, yeah, I don't know at this point. Like I said, all of them are using SSL channel with their respective presets. So for example, rack tom, I just select the rack tom preset. The main thing of that is literally I just add some highs, maybe lows, and maybe a gate. SSL pretty much does all the work for you, bro. I kid you not. So all we have left now is the hi-hat channel, in which all I did was put NLS on it. And now that I'm here, I'm panning that over because I lied. That's why I didn't pan it over. I didn't pan it over because I was using the hi-hat as some overhead, if that makes any sense. Since there's no overheads, I wanted as much brightness from the drum set I could get, which is probably why a lot of these don't have a lot of gates on them. So just like the snare, the only thing different was the toms were sent to CLA drums as well, but on the toms preset. So that explains, I'm understanding what I did now. No gate on either because I needed some brightness on the drum set. So with that being said, just reminded myself of why I did all this stuff. I'm gonna let y'all hear the entire drum set again. And all I didn't mention was just the drums are just sent to this room reverb right here, which mostly everything in this entire session will be sent there. And luckily, since without the gates, we can still hear a little bit of the cymbals. All right, so now that we're done with the drums, we're gonna move to keys. So I wasn't on keys. My bro Lawrence was on keys. So I'm gonna let y'all hear what they sound like by themselves. Let me find somewhere. We're gonna use the same song. So he was playing a montage with a Nord on top. So the main piano sounds a Nord, which is what you're hearing. So without what I did to it, is what it came. This is raw. With what I did, NLS channel, keys preset, a little bit of drive on it, compression, just to catch some, this concert went from 0 to 100, back to 0, back to 20, back to 100, everywhere. So just to get some just to stabilize it a little bit, because who knows what was going to happen. Channel EQ, I just reduced a little bit of the mids to move it out the way, since we have handheld, choir, lead mics, and just added some brightness to it. So without this EQ, this is what we have. With the EQ, and we just added vitamin. It adds a little bit more life to it. It's like taking a vitamin, bro. I don't really know how to explain it. It just makes it sound better, man. So the keyboard was sent to keys and organ reverb, and also sent to the room reverb. So let me see. This room reverb right here, and this is the keys and organ. So this is what, sorry y'all. This is the reverb the keys and the organ is using. Yep, so to organ, it's me on organ. So the reason the organ's a little hot, because my YouTube videos, I wanted it to be me as the loudest, you know what I'm saying? So for the organ, I was sent this in, I believe it was mono. Or was I? I can't remember. Actually, there it is. So, how did this happen? I'm trying to remember. I believe I was sent the organ in mono. So it was one mic on top, one mic on the bottom. Come on, Caleb. So for the organ top, I'm gonna pause it because it ain't gonna let me. NLS channel, compression. Now the EQ was kind of the same thing that I did for the keyboard, just reduce some mids. But instead of adding highs, I added the highs to the entire organ bus for both the organ bottom and the organ top. I'm gonna show y'all that later. Organ bottom, NLS channel, this channel EQ. So I just went in, cut out some boxiness, and clean it up a little bit, and added some gain here. Sorry, not gain. I just used this to put it in mono. Because the organ was real weird. I can't even remember what happened with it, but I promise everything in here was justified. I just can't remember. So on the organ bus, NLS channel, I just took out some mids for both channels at the same time. And then I added this tube EQ. So, and added a high boost. So the high boost in the tube EQ, to me, sounds way smoother on an organ instead of the regular Logic channel EQ. And I put it on the smooth output model. So let me let y'all hear the organ again. So without this tube EQ, it's real subtle, but it makes a difference. Turn that EQ back on. And the main goal is to make sure the keys and the organ can both exist together without stepping on each other. They're together. They're in their own space. One thing I forgot to mention about the keyboard is the keyboard was in stereo, so I panned one all the way left, one all the way right. So for the organ, since I was only sent one organ track for the organ top, I used a sample delay plugin and just delayed it to the right by 20 samples. I'm gonna let y'all see if y'all can hear the difference. So if you listen closely, turn the keys off. If I turn this off, you can hear it like come towards the middle a bit more. And if I turn it back on, it opens it up a little bit. That's all we have for the organ. Nothing crazy. Now for the track, I like to not do too much for the track. NLS channel, channel EQ, you know, and I just pan track left all the way left, track right all the way right. So everything in this entire session has NLS channel. Every single track. Let's see if I can move this up. Oh. So we got track, we did the drums, we did the organ. Now talk back, I just wanted this for the sake of the YouTube video. So let's move to percussion. So percussion was super duper easy. He had I think it was the drum pads. I believe he had one drum pad that they put stereo, and he had, I can't remember what this was, but I didn't do much to it at all. So he had two things that were both stereo, which gives me 4 tracks. So let me see if I can solo him. Nothing crazy. All I did was NLS channel, high pass filter. I don't like doing extra mixing for stuff that just doesn't need it. Doesn't make sense, man. Let's work for yourself. Guitar. Let me go. So I had to handle this guitar a little bit differently than I regularly do. Because it wasn't direct. They had a guitar amp with a mic in front of it. So I'm dealing with the stuff in the background as well. So for the guitar, in the left channel, of course. Now channel EQ, I used a Logic preset and just cleaned it up from here. Nothing crazy, but I took out some mids to make sure it wasn't getting in the way of anything. And I also brightened it up around here. Compression, keep the guitar in check. Because like I said, the concert was all over the place. 1 minute we worshiping, 1 minute we shouting. And this is the secret weapon right here. Without it, with it, makes a world of a difference. I didn't do much. I just add a little bit of bass, some treble. For some reason, the treble of CLA guitars seems to fit a guitar perfectly. I don't really know how to explain it, but it just knows where to add highs at. And just some compression. Nothing crazy. I didn't want to re-amplify it. I didn't need all that. I wanted it to sound more natural. And the clean preset made a big difference too, because did not want a crunch or anything on it. So, and I read that if I use CLA guitar and I put a gain plugin on after it and turn it in and put it in mono, it goes back to mono. Don't know how true that is, but hey. So the guitar is sent to its own reverb. So the actual guitar track is panned right, and then the reverb for the guitar is panned left the same amount, just to create some space. Where is it? Where is it? Guitar. Oh, now I remember what I did. Okay. I'll explain that later. So the reverb for the guitar is panned left 40 instead of 25. But like I said, I'll explain that later. So the reverb I use for the guitar, Midnight Hall, my go-to for every guitar track. And just a channel EQ to roll off the highs, the extra highs, and the extra lows we don't need. So let me see. Oh yeah, and I sent it to the room reverb. So note, all the tracks have NLS channel. All the tracks are sent to the room reverb because I want everything to sound like it's in the same room. The only thing I probably didn't send to the room reverb was the talkback mic. Literally. So to explain the plus 40, we also had aux keys. Didn't want aux keys and guitars to clash. So aux keys is being panned as well. Guitar going the opposite direction. And they're sent to the same type of reverb, but on two different reverb tracks. So, if that didn't make sense, it's sent to its aux keys reverb bus. So if we go look at the aux keys reverb bus, it's using the same preset. Okay, maybe it's not. Sorry, y'all, I forgot. So it's using. It's been so long, bro. But it's using the same type of preset, a hall, that's panned the opposite direction. And literally the same type of EQ that I use for the guitar. So the guitar is using Midnight Hall. This is using, I believe, what's called Bright Hall. But they're both panned opposite directions. If that makes sense. So to hear my boy Molly on aux, it's sent to the aux keys bus, room reverb, NLS channel, some compression just to keep it in check, and EQ. Want to brighten it up some, but also take a lot of the mids out. Aux does not need to be in the front, especially when we have like a 50-person choir, trying to keep everything behind the choir and supporting instead of competing. Play Molly. So for the bass, Mark's bass never needs much. NLS channel, compression, EQ. Dang, it didn't switch. My bad, y'all. So NLS channel EQ. So I started with this EQ that is stock from Logic, and it just worked. I got this for some string noise and just took off some highs I don't need, boosted the lows. Nothing crazy, man. Simple stuff. Compression, the go-tos. So we did keys, bass, perks. I want to get everything before I go into the vocals. Track, drums. Okay. Yeah, so we have everything. So what's worth mentioning before we move on to the vocals, what I'm ready to say. Actually, I'll save that for later. So, moving to the vocals. So for the choir, this was my first time actually working with an actual choir. So it kind of threw me through a loop. So there were 4 choir mics: left, left center, right, right center. So for the choir left, I panned all the way to the left. So let me turn Mark off real quick. So they're turned down because it was so much bleed. And since we have handhelds, it just wasn't necessary for them to be in the forefront. So we have left center, still to the left, but closer in. Then we have right. That big choir stereo field, right center, nice and full. So what I did, I wanted all the choir mics to sound the same. What you don't want is a choir mic sounding different than another. You don't want them all sounding like different mics. So each mic has an NLS channel. The choir has its own NLS channel group, channel EQ. So for each individual choir mic, I went in and did subtractive EQ and compression to keep every mic under control. individually first before I move here, and I did another round of compression on all four choir mics at the same time to glue them together. So all of these four choir mics are mixed the same way individually. Then when we go here to the choir bus and the left channel, I did more subtractive EQ as a whole, more compression to bring all mics together. And this live vocal preset is really nice. It really is. SSL channel. I use this for the highs. What else did I do? I can't really remember what else I used this for. It might have been literally just to add a little bit of brightness to the choir. So without my settings for the choir, I'm going to let y'all hear what it was originally. So without, now if I add what I did back, just some glue, clean it up a little bit. So if I turn it up, these choir mics low-key sound like a room mic, which is why they're so low in the mix. So the reason I wasn't so worried about the choir mics is because we have these handhelds. I believe it was 8. So the handhelds had about, how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the handhelds made the choir sound fuller in person and in these files. So I went from soprano all the way down to alto and panned them accordingly. So Vernicia, soprano. Where'd it go? I don't know why I did that. So Vernicia is a soprano, so I put her all the way on the left. Elena, soprano, she comes in a little bit. Taylor, also a soprano, she's closer towards the center. So Ira and Jakari are both tenors. I didn't want them directly in the center, so I moved them to the left a little bit to create some space for the kick, the bass, other stuff. So now that we are going past the center, the altos are on the right. So once you go past Jakari, we're officially on the right side of the handheld group. I wish I had a picture so y'all can understand how I'm visualizing it. So Essence is the closest alto to the middle. So she is plus 32, Mariah plus 48, and Brooklyn was the alto farthest away from the center, and she gets panned all the way to the right. So most likely she'll have the most band noise in her mic because she was right beside the band, if I remember correctly. So these are just the handhelds. All you're hearing is just these 8 singers. Just to make sure, the choir should be muted. Yeah. So that's just 8 people. Each handheld, as you can see, in the left channel, each was individually compressed. And then each was, I did subtractive EQ on each individual mic, because each mic had different frequencies that needed to be taken out. So, just to treat them all the same and make it fair for all the mics. Then I went to the handhelds bus. So without my bus, I'm going to turn the bus off. Let y'all hear it without my settings. That's without the handhelds bus. If I turned it on, night and day. All that's on this handhelds bus, NLS, they're in the choir group. CLA 2A, My opinion, actually, I'm not even going to say my opinion. My favorite compressor by far for vocals, SSL channel, add some highs. Now, the handhelds are sent to a vocal delay bus. They're sent to a vocal verb bus. And they're sent to the room verb bus. So 2 reverbs and a vocal delay. So if we go here, they're sent to this room verb and they are sent to this vocal verb. So if you want to hear the vocal delay, let me turn them off real quick. That's just delay we're hearing, which is like a few milliseconds behind. I used the lo-fi slap from H delay. We can go back and turn the handhelds back on. Yeah, nothing crazy. So the only thing left is the lead mic, which most of the time the director Perry has. So one thing about Perry, he is very churchy, so he can go from 0 to 100 super quick, which is why he has CLA 2-way on. So I'm gonna find a part where y'all can hear what I'm saying. Maybe right here.
To run and a little bit of extra room to fall out. So do we gotta do a pew check? Do we gotta do a road check?
Like I said, 0 to 100.
It is well. Somebody shout glory. Yeah.
And like I said earlier, we can go from here to here, singing.
By the time we got to that chorus,
singing Oceans, which is also on my channel.
Taylor.
So back to Perry. Originally, I had Clarity VX to get the mic as cleanest as I could, but Clarity VX is super duper CPU heavy. I ended up turning it off because of system overload and stuff. But for the lead mic, I have NLS channel, CLA 2-way, I have a channel EQ, which I did subtractive EQ with, SSL channel, just added some highs. And originally I had Clarity VX. Let's see if we can hear a difference. Turn on Clarity. Gets rid of a lot of that background noise, but super CPU intensive. But I'm gonna turn it on just to have it so you know what I was trying to do.
Oh, we came to have church tonight. Oh, we came to make the devil mad tonight.
And you can hear that his voice is going out a little bit, which means it's up a little too far. And what I'm noticing is it must have been 4 times because I just found the floor song. I'm not really sure why it's all the way down here by the vocalist, but hey. But y'all get the gist. Literally, I'm gonna let y'all hear the lead mic and the lead mic, choir, and handhelds together so you can hear what I was going for. We want them to sound together, but we don't want them to sound on top of each other.
Play.
So
praise him for his mighty healing. Praise him for his mighty
So this is just vocals. So you can hear the band in the background. You would think we got a room mic or something. You can even hear the guitar in the background, man. So, with that being said, there's nothing really else I did. It was an easy mix, but I'm going to show y'all where a lot of the time came in. Automation. No crazy automation, but automation takes time, bro. So other than automation, all we have left is our master channel. So right here, NLS bus shows us all of the groups we had. So we had keys, choir, perks, guitar, organ, drums. So I added some, sorry, brain fart. I added 7 dB of saturation here. So I took down by 7 to make sure it doesn't add any gain. So all of these are literally doing the same thing. So whatever I wanted more saturation on, I turned it up here, but I wanted to make sure I turned the same knob down here to make sure it didn't add any extra gain. If that made sense to y'all. I have an SSL compressor, which is set on the mastering preset. Literally just sitting here. This is barely up. So if we play the whole thing, you can see this is barely moving. This compressor just brings glue to the whole mix. I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on and see if y'all can tell the difference. It brings glue, and this analog button is the real deal. Adds saturation. So if I turn it back on, just fattens it up. Then we have J37 by Waves, more saturation. So we have 3 sets of saturation here because I can't talk. Logic can sound kind of digital sometimes. We have stereo out, channel EQ, literally just to add some brightness. And then we have L2, give us some more volume. Nothing crazy. So yeah, there's nothing crazy going on with this mix. But it's definitely one of my favorites to date. I have a lot of fun mixing this. But hey, I appreciate y'all for watching, bro. Tune in for more. Like, subscribe. So yeah, I'll catch y'all in the next one, bro. Y'all be easy.